Hey, and just like that, we're back again with Tea with the Queens. Tea with the Queens is a place of transformation, it's a place of empowerment, and it's an opportunity for us to take those skills that we've learned and acquire those skills and apply them to our personal lives and our businesses as we are entrepreneurs and we are trying to make strides. So, what we learn, we apply. So, today I have an awesome guest. Her name is Simone Williams Young, and she is a poetess. She is an author and she is a publisher and she is a prophetess. So we're going to have a great interview. We're going to talk to her. We're going to get to know her. We're going to get to know about her business and her brand. And we're just going to see what God leads her to tell us and to pour into us today. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up prophetess Simone Williams Young.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great.
Welcome to Tea with the Queens. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Simone Williams Young. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I just want you to share with us who Simone Williams Young is. Can you let us know who you are?
Well, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, a grandmother, um, in ministry. So I have wear many, many hats, publisher, like you said, author, and recently branched into poetry. Didn't know I could do it, but hey, we can do all things through Christ, right?
Right.
So yeah, so basically right now I'm just tapping into all the gifts that I didn't even know I have in this season. So I'm excited.
And that's a blessing. And that's the thing that we need to know about life. The gifts that we have, you don't know until you're tapping into something. Sometimes you just got to tap in to see if it's for you, then you tap out. But we all have the
Yeah.
opportunity to tap in and to find out what works for us. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's later in life when you kind of say, okay, what I want to do, some things and I need to find out what it is that I'm good at. It may
Hmm.
be, you may have grandchildren when you find out that you can do it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
nevertheless, you do it. And that's kind
Right.
of like with me. I just kind of tapped into some things later in life. Not that I'm old, but, you know, it
Right.
is what it is. So I'm tapping into some things and I'm excited about it. I am so excited. So I just want to jump in because I know that as I was looking at your bio and everything, and you talked about being a publisher. And the reason why I want to start there is because we have so many authors. We have so many
Yeah.
authors that's coming out. They're either coming out with their own single projects or they're coming out in anthologies. They're doing a lot
Right.
of work out here, and they're making a lot of noise out here with the books, which is a beautiful thing. But you
Yeah.
rarely hear about someone being a publisher and understanding what it means to publish a book. So if you could kind of
Right.
let us know what started your journey as a publisher.
What started my journey, I actually kind of got into publishing on a whim, kind of, I guess you can say. I've been in the literary industry, but I started out as a test reader and just with the love for books. And so I had a lot of different publishers and authors saying, "Here, read this," and so I found myself for free rearranging people's books because it seemed like it was a gift, and I could see books like they were in movies, like a movie screen. And so I just really enjoyed. I started enjoying the technical part, and people are like, "You should be charging," and I said, "No, I love books." So later, yeah. So later on in life, hey, I get free books. What more can you ask for? So, but later on in life, I found out helping some friends and family members get their books uploaded, uh, edited, doing book covers myself. And just, it was just like, I kid you not, everything, all of the knowledge downloaded from God. I
Yes.
did not know anything, but I'm like, but you could just do this, and this. How did I know that? And so they were just like, "You're publishing. Do my book." Then it starts spreading, and people are like, "I want you to do my book. You did so and so's book." It started out as just helping somebody. And
Yes.
sure enough, they're word of mouth. Can you do my book? How much do you charge? I'm like, you know,
That's the hard
so
part when you're
so
doing
now I
starting
have
out.
projects. Yeah, so now I have projects. And then my first project under the publishing company was in an anthology called Stronger, Better, Wiser, Welcome to the New You, in which I sat up one day and God says, release the book. And I said, what book? So he was like, I'm trying to give my people something, but they're too stuck in the past, and you need
Wow.
to release the book. And I said, oh, okay. So I did what I was told to do. So this was the real meat and potatoes of the actual publishing journey, which I actually, did the paperwork, created a company name, put it together, and I pulled some people together. I said, hey, I've been mandated to do this. You want to come in on it? And everybody said yes without a doubt. So I got the authors together, put it under the publishing company. So that's the first book actually under the Young at Heart publishing brand.
Okay,
And
young at
so
heart. I like that. Young at
thank
heart.
you, Young at
I
Heart
like.
Publishing LLC. Yeah, because my last name is Young, so so I just kind of got Young at Heart, and so it doesn't matter the age. It doesn't matter the age. You have something to say,
Yes.
and he said, start the company. He said, everybody's not called to the pulpit, but my people have a word that needs to be released.
Yes.
So I said,
That's
oh,
true.
okay. And he says, and I can trust you to handle people's stories, handle what they have to say, handle the word that's inside of them, and
Mm-hmm.
bring it out to the forefront. So not only is it just a business venture, but it's pretty much like a mandate that God had given me, because there's I don't know if I'm going ahead of you talking too much, but
Oh, no,
uh,
no, no, no. This is this is laid back. This
where
is
I
all
go to
about.
churches, in Los Angeles, California, and we're on the borderline of Watts. I don't know if a lot of people heard, like right on the border in between Watts and Compton, and in California. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard of Compton and
I heard
Watts.
of
Yeah,
Compton Watch, especially back in the 80s. You know,
yeah.
it was real popular to hear
So
about
I go
Compton.
to a small church called the Wrecking Crew for Christ Holiness Church, right in that area. And, you have a lot of people that don't really do Facebook. It's an area where there's some poverty, close to the projects. We have people from the church coming in from the streets, coming in from gang life, coming in from prostitution, coming in from different various walks of life. And a lot of people may or may not have the education and think that they can ever write a book. So God started showing me the area and started showing me the people, because I used to wonder, Lord, why did you send me to this church? I don't have this background. I don't have that story of being on the streets, or I don't have this story. I don't have that story. But He's like, these are all my people, and they have a story to tell, and you make sure they tell it.
It is. You're the
So I
avenue
said,
to that.
okay.
You're the avenue to that. And the thing is, let me say real quick, is that I've read stories, especially in the last few years since I wrote mine, and I read stories that changed my life. And you never know what someone's going through. And one of the things with me is that I always look at people. And of course, I'm not the only one to look at people and see the outer appearance and
Mhm.
say, "Oh, wow, look at them. They got it going on. Or they're doing this. They're doing that."
Mhm.
But when you read the story, you feel connected, because you feel like when you're coming and you're trying to do your thing, you just probably feel like you're not good enough because of what you've been through. Then when you read other people's stories, you realize that in spite of what they've been through, they're climbing and they're actually making things happen, and they're being led by God. And that's what happened to me. I put aside what I went through and what I was going through,
Mhm.
and I was saying to myself, I can do this. And
Yes.
sometimes it does take, reading someone's story or hearing
Mhm.
someone's story. And
Mhm.
so that's the avenue that was prepared for them through you. And that's
Yes.
what I prayed. I prayed, Lord, order my steps so that I'm effective in what it is that I do. And so that is what you've done.
Yes,
It's
yes.
scary
I'm
because you're like,
trying.
you wondering, why am I even here?
Yeah. Why am I? And I know there are some other things along the way that confirmed why I was there. Uh, I when I came, and my pastor even said it because he's a prophet as well. So I haven't told the story much, but I'll tell it on here. When I got there, I was really broken. I may not have looked like it, but I was really broken. I had a broken ankle. It was shattered in many places. I was at first I was living in Texas, and I actually had moved to Texas because I was running away from some things, running away from life, and I couldn't handle it in California anymore. It was too much pain, so I kind of ran to Texas. I have 5 children, but I took my 2 smallest children, and I had moved to Texas. But when I got out there, I shattered my ankle and had to come back home. But I had to come back home. I learned later because I needed to fix some things and I needed to face some things. So when I got there, he saw me and nobody knew that I was so broken. I was at that point, I was pretty much praying for death. And how many people know that you can have what you ask for if you keep asking for it? And my pastor didn't know anything about me. He didn't know me at all. I had my first time going to the church, and he looked at me and he said, I pray your strength. He said, if God led you here, because if you had not come here this day, he said, within about 24 to 48 hours, you would have been dead.
Wow. Wow.
But he didn't know that I was praying I
For
said, Lord, if I just go to sleep, I'm just tired. And he even said it. He says, you never know just because somebody come in here put together and they look pretty, and they look like they have it. He said, you never know what they are going through. That's why it's so important for the body of Christ to be sensitive and have discernment to even the person sitting next to you. Because
that's
you can
true.
have a person sitting next to you that's getting ready to jump right off the bridge and you don't even know it.
Exactly. And that's
A
the
common
thing,
word.
what I'm seeing a lot on social media with a lot of spiritual noise. I say that. A lot of
Mhm.
arrogance and spiritual noise, and a lot of people are hurting, and you never know what someone is going through. And there's so many, out there trying to have formality and not
Mhm.
even looking at the heart that
Yeah.
they're causing havoc. And
Mhm.
social media is a good place, and it can also be a dangerous place.
Yes.
So having that discernment and being sensitive to the needs of others, even in the church, especially in the church,
Yes.
that's what's needed. And
That's what's
like
needed.
social media would tell on you, and it's telling, and that's why a lot of people probably is pulling away because where they go to find the refuge is not there. But when
Right.
you get with someone who's truly led, then you'll know, and you'll feel that connection. You'll feel
Yes.
that release. So I
Hmm.
just want to interject that there because there's a lot of that, and I totally stand on what you were saying as far as that, because
Hmm.
we all can walk the part, but in here, you
Yeah.
know, when you hurting,
Yeah. Yeah. Being sensitive, and so that's how I ended up, there. And then not too long after that, I started getting stronger in my faith walk and learning to face some fears, and I started getting better. And then I had the biggest attack of my life, and that's when my son got killed
mm,
in 2020. I went to the church. I got to the church in 2018. My son was killed in 2020. And I used to say, Lord, I knew I had the gift of the prophet, but I hadn't been ordained yet. I know I had some things to work on. But I used to say, God, you always seem to give me something for everybody else. How come I didn't know? Sometimes you kind of say, where were you? What good is a great gift if, I can't even. figure it out myself, you know.
Mm.
And he spoke to me, and he showed me how my pastor was one of the first people that knew that my son had got killed. I had called him when I found out he was dead. I called him, and I live in Victorville, which is maybe about 4 hours away from Las Vegas. And he was killed in Las Vegas. At first, they just kept saying, "You need to get to this location. Your son had been shot." Nobody told me he had been killed. They were just trying to get me there, and nobody had actually told me that he wasn't living anymore. And so, but I started putting two and two together. And I'm like, this is not making no sense. I kept calling my daughter, and she just said, "Just get to the address." I said,
Mhm.
"Well, why is he still there if he's shot? I should be talking to a doctor, making some decisions. Like, what's going
Right.
on?" And then in my spirit, it was like, he's not alive.
Mm.
And so my pastor was the first person that I had called after I had found out, and he stayed on the phone with me all the way, prayed with me all the way, and the church just rallied behind me. Whatever I needed, I barely had to lift a finger.
See.
And so they basically carried me through this thing. And
Mhm.
so God began to show me, and He says, "I was with you. I led you to a place right on the corner of Imperial and Avalon." That because if I had to take that hit right when I first came, I wouldn't have made it.
Mm.
He had to send me a place where I was strong enough to be able to take the hit.
Yeah.
And he said, "I led you there and I was handling it so much better than I had expected." And people were in awe. They're like, you're encouraging everybody else. And you just lost your son, but at the funeral and everything, it was like you was busy picking up everybody and everybody else falling out when I should have been falling. And I'm helping, and we're, concerned about so-and-so, concerned about so-and-so. And they were like, you just been handling it. A lot of people on social media had actually watched my journey
Yeah.
going through that. And even in that journey, a lot of people had came back to me, and I kid you not, some people who had actually told me that they admired me and how strong I was. Do you know a lot of them unfortunately had lost children within 6 months to a year
Wow.
after I did?
So they were watching you, didn't know why they was
And
watching.
then,
That's
yeah.
crazy. That is so
And
crazy.
that's how I ended up writing. Eventually, I ended up writing my first book. It's self-published, and it was called "I Choose to Live: Pushing Through the Grieving Process."
Mhm.
Because
Wow.
in those moments, I had to make a choice.
Mm.
I had to make a choice. Was I going to let grief overtake me? I had still had other children. I still had other grandchildren, and I know how my son was. He was fun loving. I kid you not, in the middle of 2020 and right in the middle of COVID, um, there was an overflow of people at his funeral. I didn't think
Even
hardly anybody. Yeah, I didn't think nobody was going to hardly show because of COVID. Everybody was so scared. Everybody showed up with their mask, and a lot of people didn't come because if it hadn't been in the middle, because that's how much my son was well loved and how many people he had touched along the way. And
hey, to Jack and those who listen to this, and who's listening that know me can, not because I want it to be about you because this is so remarkable and it's so healing. But you're talking to a
yes,
person who lost a child, and I'm listening to you, and I'm like, wow, wow,
oh
and
wow,
this
see, I
is
didn't even
so
know.
and it's so healing and it's so deep. And a
Oh
lot of
wow,
people, I'm like, listen to her. I said, because a lot of people that know you, and hear it one way, but listen to someone that's giving us that word and even giving us a prophetic word and don't probably even know that we pouring into us, those who have, and you wouldn't have known that
mhm.
I lost my
No,
son, anything like that. I'm listening and it's like it give me chills. I just had to interject because I'm like, Why am I
Wow.
thinking
Because in my head, I'm going, Lord, why am I going this direction? So I'm just like, I'm normally pretty shy and I don't talk a lot, really, to tell you the truth. I'm pretty shy, but yeah, in my head I was going, why am I talking so much and why am I going in this direction? Why am I going this far back? But only God knows, so I just let it flow.
and that's why with the
So
book it is so important because there I know, others who's experienced this, and
mhm,
I would say again, we'll talk about how to get the book in a minute and
yeah.
everything,
Mhm.
and I got a few other things, but just listening to you, and I hope that others would listen and take heed that have been through that or who are hurting. Yeah, look, you
Yeah.
know, you know,
Yeah, because I knew the death of my son. I can't say that this is for everyone,
right? Yeah,
but I knew the death of my son for me was a little bit more on
yeah,
the spiritual end.
yeah,
I feel through my life I've kind of fought depression, suicidal thoughts, and I knew this was to me another spiritual attack to try to push me over the edge.
hmm,
You know, I feel once if the enemy can keep you so boggled up in here where you don't know what's right from left, you can't even figure out who the heck you are.
right.
So I knew that this was attack, and I remember the same day my son had passed, I was in the hotel room and I said, God, there's a test in here somewhere. I should be bawling my eyes out, but for some reason I said, there's a test in here somewhere, and I gotta pass it because I don't want to go through this test not one more time.
Right. Well,
I gotta get it
no,
right the first time. And I just, at that moment, just put all my trust and gave it to God. Didn't mean I wasn't human. I didn't have my moments where I cried and just be like, Lord, but I gave it over to him and I trusted him. A lot of people said, now this may not be for everybody, but a lot of people say, did you call the police department? Did you call the police department? No. It was enough of them keep telling me we can't figure out who did it. I'm like, okay, you only gonna tell me that 2 or 3 times.
right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying? I'm like, either y'all gonna figure it out or not. But at
right.
this point, I've given it to God, and they still haven't found out who killed my son to this day. But
But
I have
it's
enough belief.
oh, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. I was saying
Oh, okay.
that kind of weight on you when you just try to figure it out. Saying you want the right thing to happen, but the vengeance is the Lord's, and you want to figure it out, but you know that if you're not figuring it out, like you said, after
Mhm.
so long, it's gonna tear you apart.
Tear me
It's not.
apart.
It's not giving up, and it's not defeat.
Yep. Nope.
Book. I choose to live.
I
Is it
choose
say I
to live.
choose to live? Yeah, I choose to live.
Yeah. I choose to live. There were just other things, and unfortunately, you know how they say sometimes you have to let the dead bury the dead. It's
Hmm.
not that I don't want justice for my son. I know that you cannot escape God, no matter what you do. You can't escape that. And you took the life of a thriving, he was going to a HBCU. He was on the honor roll. He only had one
Oh,
semester left to finish his bachelor's, and he was on the honor roll. Even after he had passed, like even months later, they were still sending me awards because he had
wow.
been on the honor roll. And but I had to give it to God because I knew if I kept carrying that and doing it in my own strength, that I would have lost it. And I needed to stay in my place of deliverance. God had already healed me. So I had to find my place and maintain the deliverance that I needed because I still have 2 children that were at the time still in high school.
Hmm.
So it was enough to have to still try to, and believe it or not, once somebody passes, life still moves on.
It
People
does.
still expect certain things of you. They still expect your kids to come to school every day. You struggling and you can't pull it together, but you still got to get your kids dressed. You still got to make sure they get their homework. You still have to. There's still a
You got to
lot.
show up. You
Yeah,
still
you
got to
still
show
they
up.
still expect you to show up. Your kids still expect to be fed. They still expect to be. So I had to make some choices. Either I was going to let that just keep me in a chokehold, or find some way. There were times I would close the door and my kids would see I would cry, and but I had to kind of stay strong, and just pray myself. So that was that book, and so that's how I ended up writing my first book, through that book. So like I said, I didn't know why I had went that direction, but apparently somebody needed to
But
hear it.
you know what? Yeah, but and that's the thing. And I will say this before we move on from that, that I had to make a choice to live because I knew that I had to still be here. And while I was here, I had work to do as well. He left the impact. So what am I going to do with the rest of my time? Am I going to leave an impact, or am I going to ball up and give up? I still had things to do. He
Mhm.
left here and he had done a lot in his short life and had made a big impact. So
Yeah,
what I'm going to do with what I got to do. What am I going to do? I
right.
got to do what I got to do.
Mhm.
I need to leave an impact. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So I had to make a decision. I still got some things I want
Absolutely.
to do, like you said.
Yeah.
You got to bury the dead. And you got to show up. You got to do what you got to
Yeah.
do, because one day, regardless of the fact, it'll be me, it'll be whoever.
Right.
So you better get it in. I used to tell his friends when they would come around, I said, you better live life and get it in, because one day it'll be you. I said, so why y'all, go out there and kill the game. Do what you got to do. And I
Hmm.
can say that they're out there doing the things. So you gotta keep moving.
Yes,
So
exactly. I know how my son is. He loved his brothers and sisters a lot, and he took his last year. He kind of really, right before he passed, he really started taking the big brother role seriously. At first he was growing up himself. It was all about him and partying, but then when he, like I said, that last year, it was strange because he really did a turnaround, and it wasn't all about him anymore. And he started realizing that I'm my brother and sister's keeper, and he started trying to talk to them about making sure they were making the right choices and the right decisions. And he really started taking on that role seriously. And so I knew for me just to lay down and just give up, he would be disappointed.
yeah.
You
And
know,
and, and two, we wouldn't. I mean, all of this that's going on. I know you have this coming up on April 12th. Okay, so
yes.
if you're in the area, you know, check
Hmm.
this out,
Hmm.
and
It's
it's gonna be posted
online.
online. Oh, online. Okay, and also we're gonna put this up. This is the a new anthology that she's doing. So I just want to make sure that they see you, and they want to make sure that they see what you're doing. This is good. You know what? This was meant. What was said was had to be said. It was meant to be said, and God is
Yes.
pleased. Prophetess Simone Williams Young, everybody.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.